The young Phil Knight always wanted to be number one, but as a student at the University of Oregon, he only ran the mile well enough to come second. But his aggressive will to win permeates the whole company. Nike was the Greek goddess of victory. After a brief spell as an accountant, he started selling running shoes from the boot of his car. Nike, the brand, was born in 1971 and was soon known as the Saturday Night Live of the sports biz. Bill Bowerman, Knight's college track coach, designed the famous waffle-shaped sole. Together they spotted the jogging boom and helped turn a non-essential product, the plimsoll, into a mainstream necessity, the sneaker. The top Nike guys were a close-knit team, although Knight was always the boss. He could also be a drag at times.
It creates an emotion in a person's mind, either positive or negative, that brings out all kinds of reactions to that brand. And when we got to start our own brand and have our own name, we were very ambitious in some of the things that we wanted it to stand for. But I mean, as you stop and think about brands around the world, Sony and Coca-Cola and Rolls-Royce, why they all stand for very different things, but they all create an emotional response and something that's really strong and powerful.
The third element, which created that response, has been a novel approach to marketing.
One of the things we said is we don't have enough money to take out an ad on the back page of Sports Illustrated, but we do have enough money to get on the cover. And that is if we can get an athlete that's good enough to get on the cover of the magazine, that's the best ad we can get.
The brand's success has always been based on innovation. In the beginning was the shoe.
The key thing for us was the product, and our whole focus for the first 10 years of the company was building a better mousetrap, having a better running shoe, having a better basketball shoe, having more cushioning in different shoes, and innovating like every 6 months and spending a lot of money on research and development, and spending a lot of money in a lab. And the product process really was developed far in advance of anything else that we did.
Over 350 new designs are brought to market each year.
Almost legend now that Phil Knight wrote this paper for Stanford Business School about his plan for what was, before it was even Nike shoes. It was based on cheap labor in Asia.
From the mid-70s, Knight sourced shoes in South Korea and Taiwan. Low labor costs gave him a vital advantage over his European competitors. When labor got too expensive, he moved the operation to China and Indonesia. Nike will make over 50 million pairs of sneakers in Indonesia this year, mainly because workers are paid not much over $2 a day.
Nike could double the wages going to these workers, double the minimum wage to about $4.50 a day, which everyone agrees would be a living wage for a single adult in Indonesia today, and not affect the cost of the $70 shoes by more than $1.50 a pair. Maybe they could recover that cost by doing 2 less adverts per week.
Indonesia is run by a corrupt military dictatorship, which, according to the US State Department, continues to commit serious human rights abuses. Some major US companies have pulled out. Nike have stayed in. In July, Business Week alleged that some of Nike's subcontractors had on occasion abused their workers. Petty humiliations like cleaning toilets and running round the block were punishments for misdeeds. Nike denies any responsibility.
In these factories, there's a lot of abuse of these young women, and women who make mistakes have to wear the shoe that they've made a mistake on, parade around, and they're meant to ridicule them.
As Nike don't actually own the factories, Knight's response is, there are some things we can control and some things we can't. But that hasn't stopped a number of organizations who monitor labor issues from criticizing Nike.
The National Organization for Women just passed a resolution on sweatshops, and Nike was the only company mentioned. The premier human rights group in Indonesia, the Indonesian Forum for NGOs, came to the United States recently, and when asked by the Council on Foreign Relations in New York Who was the worst company? It was Nike.
Well, I mean, actually, I just think they're wrong. They just don't understand the world. They think the world's flat. That essentially there are markets in all these things that really kind of dictate what gets paid and what doesn't get paid. I mean, basically, yeah, if I'd like to average Michael Jordan's salary with a shoemaker in Indonesia, I says Michael Jordan wouldn't like that too good, and we wouldn't have Michael Jordan as an endorsement. And the same token, a shoemaker in Indonesia is paid 50% more at entry level than what he gets at minimum wage, in other industries in Indonesia. So what we try to be is good citizens within the country that we're working. It's funny because I was telling somebody the other day that I worry about everything, and they were quite astonished by the fact. But the truth of the matter is I do. Again, I think this is just a very, very competitive business, and that you need to win on all fronts to stay ahead of the competition. And that's having the best factories, having the best products, having the best endorsements, having the best ads. And anytime you kind of stumble down that spectrum, why somebody comes up and can knock you flat.
Well, I think almost the most important thing is do something you enjoy. That's what's fulfilling. That was one of Frank Schallenberger's biggest lessons. That if you're gonna start a small business or involve a small business, there are going to be many, many dark hours, and if you don't really enjoy what you're doing, it says it has no chance. And I think, as again what somebody else said, that a great football coach. You can't tell the difference between his hobby and his business.